Hello, everybody. Today, I want to talk about Mercury retrogrades. We are just started one on Wednesday, August 23rd, and he will be retrograding through Friday, the 15th of September. So these happen about 3 times a year, and I wanted to kind of do a little bit of a deep dive because there's a lot of information that may be helpful for you to know. And then we'll frame up a question of how, depending on your rising sign, what area may be the most productive for you to focus on during this retrograde period. Now, there's two other dates that I would want to give you also. On Tuesday, the 5th of September, Mercury will be exactly combust, same degree as the sun. So this is a day where it may be a little more troubling because his energy, Mercury's energy, is completely swallowed up by the sun. And then on Wednesday, September 13th, he will be conjunct the moon. And so the moon and Mercury have a special relationship. The moon represents our whole mind, and the Mercury, our intellect. So this can be a time where maybe our emotions tend to cloud our judgment, and especially when he's in the retrograde phase. So those are really the key dates. It started on back on Wednesday, August the 23rd, then on Tuesday, September 5th, and Wednesday, September 13th. They could be specific days. And then the other one would be Friday the 15th when it ends. Now, while the retrograde ends, it's quite interesting because Mercury being in the middle of Leo is a very strong position. Whenever planets are in the middle degrees of a fixed sign, they become really strong. So this Mercury retrograde is going to build in its strength, and that will start from the 8th of September through all the way through the 20th. Mercury will be giving a lot of strength, and that means we'll experience his energy very strongly. So even though the retrograde ends on the 15th, I would continue to monitor the questions that you're asking yourself about this through the 20th, because you may continue to see results. So the basics of this is that the Mercury retrogrades happen about every 4 months, so about 3 times a year, and they usually last for about 3 weeks. The energy is mostly disturbed on the first day of the retrograde and the last day. However, because Mercury is always close to the sun, there will be a day where he is, directly in the same degrees. So like we're seeing here, there may be days where they conjunct other planets. But otherwise, it's just good to know. So, some people like want to mark out the whole 3 weeks of your calendar to do stuff. That's not realistic for most of us. So what I wanted to do is give you the important dates to really kind of move things around and give yourself little lighter days on those particular dates. When a planet is retrograde, I like to think of it as it's rebalancing and kind of re-energizing. So it's kind of interesting because Mercury represents our thinking mind. And so that means 3 times a year we get a chance to kind of dump all the stored files and resort things and rebalance our thinking. So that can be kind of, it's a good time to use the energy to do that. The retrograde this year will be in the sign of Leo. So everything that's related to the qualities of Leo is what is going to be the subject matter for this rebalancing. Of course, the key indicator for Leo is governments and large corporations, things that organize our society, all those kind of things. So you may see there could be some developments in there. Now, since the Mercury retrograde is pretty short, it usually doesn't create lasting impact at that time. However, I noticed that it acts more like a trigger. Something can happen during this retrograde in your personal life or in public life that will then yield benefits later on. And if you trace back to the beginning of it, you see like, oh, this was when the trigger actually happened. So that's a good way to look at it. Now, on a personal level, Leo is really about, it expands our awareness to include how we see ourselves. The first four signs are like we're kind of working ourselves out. But this is where I like to think about Leo is where we go into public. And so it's about our rank, our status, and our place in society. This awakens the desire for us to gain those things, status. But we must remember that, especially during the retrograde, what we're going to be doing is balancing those things in all different areas of our life. Leo is also about lineage. So it's about where we came from, and it's also about children, what we're creating in the world. Now, it can be on many different levels. There's our family lineage, of course, our family ideas that come in, and what ideas do we carry forward? Also, what area of the country were we born in and what country were we born in? So these are all different levels of things that you learned, early on, and you may choose to keep them and cherish them as your traditions, but you may also find it's time to let go of some things and move forward. Knowledge is often the currency of how we advance in the external world. And it's interesting that this is the sign where we learn in the nakshatras, the lunar zodiac, about Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom, music, and knowledge. So there could be an opportunity to learn something new. It can be a hobby, it can be enhancing your career, all kinds of things. And again, this would be kind of like the trigger that you may engage in this now and it will yield results for a long time. Leo is also about the experiencing love for others. So this, as we go out and rank ourselves and get set up in society, in Gemini, we have like adolescent dating. That's really just about finding someone special and things like that. This is more the sign of romance is seated here. So it's a little more adult, it's longer term. It's not the infatuations of Gemini, I could say. It's more the romance of building something that's longer term and public and all that kind of stuff. So I also noticed something this year. The 3 retrogrades are all happening in fire signs. So we had an Aries retrograde in April. We're having Leo's retrograde now. And then in December, we will have Mercury's retrograde in Sagittarius. So fire is very interesting because it represents 2 things. It's also part, in Vedic culture, it represents the Kshatriya caste. And the Kshatriyas were they were called the warriors, but they were also the kings, the rulers. They're the people that run the society, which is why Leo is about our place in society. But it's also about Dharma. So Dharma is the idea that we have to take right action. So of course, in the ideal world, our rulers will promote Dharma into society. They will be fair, they will be equitable, they will be creative to meet the needs, and they will, allow things that are no longer applicable to, be removed. So they're really caring for people. So this gives a very unique flavor to the year that we are really visiting our personal views of right action, of Dharma, and both our leadership and evaluating the government officials and corporate leaders on all levels. So opinions may change about this throughout the year. So I want to frame this up that the retrograde cycle in Leo will really be focused specifically on finding balance. The first Aries is the creative sign, and the Leo is the balancing sign. So it's the chance to find balance in our lives and to look for balance in the actions of corporate leaders and our government. Mercury has some afflictions this year. So Mercury is like our mind. It can be very good. It can be very challenging. But because he's with the sun in Leo, he's considered a natural malefic. He's also getting aspected by Saturn, which increases his malefic energy. Additionally, there's an aspect from Jupiter that can help give him a little more positive energy. But Jupiter himself is under some negative aspects, so that's not as strong as the Saturnian aspect. Now, I want to clarify, we talk a lot in astrology about benefics and malefics, but really, it's easy to think of one as good and one as bad. But it's really the way that the way we experience the energy of the planets. So benefics, we experience it we receive gifts from them. They present us opportunities and things that we want and things that seem pleasurable and enjoyable. And then through working with them, we learn the true value of them. And so sometimes it's the classic thing I think of is you'll fixate on you want a certain item. And then once you buy the item, 6 months later, you're like, why did I want that so much? So we get our needs satisfied up front, and then we learn the lesson. That's what benefics do. Now, malefic planets take the opposite tack. They present obstacles. So we have to work hard and continue to be persistent in order to get what it is we want. And so this way, we may not ever get it because if we don't have the willpower or the focus to get it, we don't get that prize or the results. So this is just what we're getting is that we're learning here that Mercury in this retrograde is going to be presenting obstacles. So a great way to train yourself is when you see an obstacle coming up, you look and say, okay, do I really want this? And then say yes or no. And if you say yes, then commit yourself to working for it on a consistent basis. And don't allow yourself to go negative on that process, but say, I've just got to keep working in this process. Because that state of mind, which is a lot about what Mercury represents, will make all the difference in your experience of it. And it can really change the way you see the world and give you a much more peaceful existence. So I wanted to take some time to go through each sign, and I'm framing up the question that I'm going to say is a way to apply all of this information is to ask yourself, am I creating harmony and balance in my life? So that's the question you can write on your whiteboard or put on your calendar or something that through this next period of time, up until really through September 20th, each day check in. And depending on your rising sign, there'll be one area of life that is more emphasized. And this is where you can really make progress and gain a lot of knowledge in it. So if you're Aries rising, Mercury is going to be in the 5th house. So we can ask ourselves, am I creating harmony and balance with my peers? Do I foster mutually supportive relationships? If you're Taurus rising, Mercury will be in the 4th house. So we can ask yourself, am I creating harmony and balance in my home, both the building and the other people you share it with? How can I release things that I no longer need? How can I improve areas that need to be addressed? For Gemini rising, Mercury will be in the 3rd house. So this is the time to ask, am I creating harmony and balance among my friends, my colleagues, and my siblings? It's a good time to address any imbalances in these relationships. Some of them may not really be working for you, and maybe this is the time to de-emphasize those relationships. For Cancer rising, Mercury is going to be in the 2nd house, and this is the house of speech. So it's great to explore, am I using my speech to promote harmony and balance? And really examine many areas of your life, both your personal, your professional, and your social media. That's a big one. Also examine the messages that you're taking in. Are they promoting harmony and balance within you? For Leo rising, the Mercury is going to be in the 1st house. And the 1st house really controls the whole chart. So this is the place to review, I like to say, your daily routine. Are you fostering creativity and harmony within yourself? The keys to this process are usually to have a balance every day in your your food, eat nutritious, fresh food that you like, have some movement every day, get good sleep, and have time for relaxation. So you balance like your work, your relaxation, all those things. Are you happy with the energy you're putting into that? Virgo will put Mercury in the 12th house. And so this represents the areas where you may experience loss. So, are you fostering harmony and balance when experiences are coming to an end? Is there a process of accepting the loss and releasing the situation? This can be difficult, but this can also be freeing. So it's something we've never talked about this in our society, but it's really important that everything comes, that it's with us for a while and it releases it. And when you can release it with an open heart, it makes it so much easier for you. Libra finds Mercury in the 11th house of gains. So you can ask yourself, are you creating harmony and balance in what you're acquiring and earning? Classically, this can be a challenge to balance the effort it takes to get the gains you need. Sometimes this involves learning your limits, and that may involve learning to be content with less. Maybe you can't work out 5 days a week. Maybe your body won't take it anymore. So maybe 3 days a week is a better balance for you and avoids injury and overexertion, things like that. Scorpio finds Mercury in the 10th house of career. So you can ask yourself, are you creating harmony and balance in your career? Review your work-life balance and make sure that you're really feeling content. Sagittarius finds Mercury in the 9th house of spiritual knowledge. Are you actively learning new ways to create harmony and balance within your life? Are you allowing yourself time each day to experience your higher self? This doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be a check-in in the morning. It can be sitting quietly before you get ready for bed. Something on a day-to-day to let your mind come into stillness. Capricorn rising will find Mercury in the 8th house, and this is where we face a lot of chronic issues. So this house is where we can process challenges in our life on a spiritual, mental, and physical level. So I would say gently ask yourself if you're creating harmony and balance in your mind, in your body, and in your spirit. Daily positive actions are the key to processing these deep-seated past life karmas. So it's important to go slowly in these areas, but to address them daily. And this can be everything from chronic physical issues to addictions to compulsions, or even constant worry, constant anxiety. So these are the things that may come up for you, and you have a good time to work on these for the next 3 weeks. Aquarius rising finds Mercury in the 7th house, the house of personal and business partnerships. So are you creating harmony and balance in your personal and business relationships? And finally, we come to Pisces. And it finds Mercury in the 6th house of illness and enemies. So are you working to create harmony and balance within yourself for any illnesses that you may be facing while addressing changes in your health? And also with your coworkers or people that have opposite views to you? Are you allowing them to have their views and allowing yourself to have your own? One of the greatest sources of stress is when we try to make someone else do something. It never works out. Allow them to have their path and make sure that you stay true to your own. Thank you very much for watching today. I hope you find this helpful. If you'd like to learn more about how astrology can affect your life, please visit my site, billsinclair.com, and book a consultation. I also wanted to mention that on September 15th, right after the Mercury retrograde ends, or on that day, I'll be starting a 5-lecture series for the fall. And in this series, I'm going to be talking about all the myths and stories that come as part of the Vedic astrology tradition. This has helped me so much to improve my practice because I remember stories. And I don't remember like a list of adjectives around the planet, but I remember once I know the story of the planet, it helps me to get deeper meaning and memorize them. So I hope you visit my site. I hope you have a great retrograde series. This is one of the 4 retrogrades that we're going to be experiencing. So just take a breath every day and it will all be over soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.